Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vitvishavahay. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Jai Gurudev. So yesterday we stopped at this verse. We'll just do a recap of this before going to the next one. This was Yadrichaya chopapannam swargadvaramapavritam sukhina kshatriya partha labhante yuddhamidrisham. That is, and oh, son of Pritha, only lucky kshatriyas get this kind of battle, which has come by chance and which is an open gate to heaven. So Krishna was actually continuing his covering all standpoints to tell Arjuna that there is no cause for grief, either from the absolute standpoint, that is the Paramarthika Satta, from the standpoint of Atma, because Atma, the Dehi in every Deha, is eternal. There is no cause for grief. And even from the standpoint of the relative, he's given different standpoints. And now he's coming to the standpoint of the body. Since the body, anything which is anatma is anitya, and therefore there is no cause for grief, because you cannot stop the modification, you cannot stop that destruction. But now he's coming to another standpoint of the dharma. So yadricha means chance, something that happens without your willing or wanting it. Here Krishna told Arjuna that the gates of heaven were open to him. This was something that had come to Arjuna without his desiring it. It is said that a person who dies performing his or her duty goes to heaven. It is a karma phala promised by the scripture. Therefore, Krishna said, when you perform your duty properly, heaven, swarga will be the result. So that underline that word properly, that should be very important. The gates of heaven have opened for you without any prayer on your part. Krishna also told Arjuna in this verse that this kind of battle, yuddham idrisham, is not gained by ordinary people, but only by the very lucky ones. Sukhinaha kshatriyaha labhante. A question may arise here. Does this mean that the kshatriyas in Duryodhana's army were unlucky? No doubt they were also going to fight, but they had conflicts because they were supporting a usurper. Unlike Arjuna, they were not able to fight with a clean heart. Of course, they were soldiers and they had their own reasons for fighting. They may even have said it was their duty, and perhaps that was true. But still, for them, the inner conflict was unavoidable. As soldiers, they could only do what they were commanded to do. Therefore, they too were doing their swadharma. But at the same time, it was not totally dharmya, because their leader was a usurper. So any karma will have a drishta phala and an adrishta phala, right? So Drishtaphala is something that happens immediate, that is obvious. So Drishtaphala for anything that is dharmya, that is according to dharma, is that peace that you get, the inner peace and lack of conflict. But the Drishtaphala of doing anything adharmic is that inner conflict. That's why Gurudev says, live life without that inner conflict. I think in Ashtavakra he says, conflict free living. The entire army of Duryodhana, including Bhishma and Drona, were not totally convinced that what they were about to do was according to their dharma. They were there primarily because they were obliged to Duryodhana. The war was foisted upon them and was not therefore totally in keeping with dharma, whereas for Arjuna it was. So another contrasting thing in the Mahabharata is that the Pandavas were fighting a dharmic war, whereas the Kauravas were fighting an adharmic war. From their intention behind each side was, one was dharmic and the other was adharmic. Arjuna's chance to protect dharma. While no one enjoys a war, a Kshatriya who has to protect dharma could never have a better chance to prove himself as a Kshatriya. Arjuna was a warrior. Therefore, Krishna may have said, only lucky Kshatriyas get a clean yuddha to fight. It is no longer a question of your ambition for a kingdom, because you were already willing to accept a house of five with 5 rooms. You have explored every possible way to avoid this war. But in spite of all your efforts, war has been declared, and it is definitely a dharmiya yuddha. Even from the standpoint of dharma, Arjuna, you have no cause to grieve. This is coming from the relative standpoint of dharma. He says there is no cause to grieve. So one point here is that whenever we have questions and arguments about how come Arjuna was asked to fight, the basis of the war on which the Arjuna and the rest of the Pandavas were fighting was to uphold dharma. The backdrop of what happened in the Mahabharata needs to be kept in mind in that context. That Duryodhana usurped the whole kingdom, sent them to exile for 13 years after they lost that game of dice. And when they came back, when they were due to, he was supposed to have given back their kingdom or their share of it, he refused to give even a needle point of land. So that was totally against the contract and that deal that was struck between them. So they had to, and they negotiated, did everything. Krishna did his part. In spite of that, because it reached a stalemate, there was no other choice but to go to war. So when we keep this in the backdrop, then there is no doubt in us when people say, "Oh, how come Krishna asked Arjuna to fight and kill people?" Right? So yeah, when Krishna began to teach Arjuna, his original statement was Ashocyan Anvashochahatvam, the 11th verse in chapter 2. Having established it as a fact, Krishna then told Arjuna that he is aggrieved for no reason, that grief has no real basis. This was Krishna's argument. First, he dealt with it absolutely, and then from simple relative standpoints, based purely on one's own duty, swadharma. If we look at Arjuna's conflict from the standpoint of the Dharma Shastra, we find that performing one's duty produces certain karma phala. The Dharma Shastra deals with what is to be done and what is not to be done, what is right and what is wrong. It talks about the immediate result, drishtaphala, of right action in the sense that the action produces no conflict. Avoidance of conflict is the immediate result. The Dharma Shastra also talks of adrishtaphala, an invisible result credited to your account and enjoyed by you later. So the adrishtaphala is opening the gates to heaven. Now that's number one. One of the adrishtaphalas, right? But drishtaphala is avoidance of conflict. When you do what is to be done, you have that inner calm, that inner fulfillment. That yes, I think Swamiji had said this long back in the beginning, I think in the introduction, is when you have been wanting to, for instance, small example, to clear up your shelf and you've not done it. But the day you've done it, actually, you feel that inner peace and calm and happiness that you finally did it. So that is the Drishtaphala of right action. The war, Yuddha, for Arjuna was in keeping with his duty. Therefore, the war itself was like the gates of heaven opening for him. Because any dharma can only produce so much. Going to heaven, of course, is a relative result. And as though by accident, without any prayer on his part, this result was assured to Arjuna. All he needed to do was to walk into the war and do what was to be done. Only the lucky ones get such an opportunity, not everyone. So, following dharma, you get only limited results. There is no unlimited result. So, following dharma, you cannot get moksha. Isn't it? Will put you onto the path, yes, but then just being a dharmic person is not going to get you liberation. Just being an ethical person is not sufficient. You will have to be a karma yogi for that. And to be a karma yogi, you would have to accept Ishvara as the karma phala data. All this we went through in, I think, in the beginning, or maybe it will come in the third chapter when we did the third chapter earlier. Right? So, anyone wants to share before we go on to the next verse?
Uh, Jai Gurudev.
Yeah.
About Bhishma and Drona, though they were highly intellectuals and they knew dharma, dharma, still they sided with Duryodhana. Uh, what could be the reason? Is it their past karmas?
Um, I don't know about the karmic angle. Yes, one of the reasons is that. The second is the situation was such that they were compelled to. Bhishma, for instance, he taken that Bhishma Vrata of number one of not marrying, and the second was to protect the throne of the of the king.
Hastinapur. Hastinapur.
Yeah,
That was his binding vow. He took a vow, and he had to stand by that. And at
correct,
that time, the reigning king was the Kauravas were ruling the kingdom.
correct.
His
But maybe we have read it somewhere, I'm not sure, that when you are committed, you can, according to the current situation, you can change the commitment. Even that is dharma, right? I think we read it somewhere here.
and that is what Gurudev had mentioned about commitment
Gurudev.
years.
Okay.
He's talked about convenience and commitment.
Mm.
Um, yeah, Bhishma did not get Gurudev's knowledge then. Hmm. But he was bound by his vow. At that point, anything that anyone said, took a vow they just stood by that. It is not like we're belittling what Gurudev is saying. No, not at all. But I think for that we need to read the Mahabharata, which is what Nana kept saying, and even Prem was mentioning that to go back and see how the situation came around and how they were bound. Drona also, for some reason, I don't know the exact reason why Drona was compelled, but
Again, he was obliged, right?
mm, mm. And more than half the soldiers were, of course, they knew that what they were what they were embarking on was not according to dharma.
Mm.
But then they were only soldiers; they were not decision makers, and they were
Yeah.
bound that they were in the Kaurava army. They were bound by that commitment there.
Mm. Following the leader is a for them is a dharma.
Correct.
But if
But
such situation occurs here, like suppose we are in a yuddha,
mm,
and we get to know that our leader is on the adharma.
mm,
Uh, what is the best thing for us to do, to change the side or just follow the our leader just because we are committed? What is the right thing to do?
yeah, I think there is no black and white answer to that. It depends on the situation again. We are here looking at a hypothetical situation, right? But
Hmm.
if like what Rajima was saying, do you have any such situation in your life? She said, anything pertaining to your life. So in her question answer session, there were, she would say, read the second chapter, come back, and then ask questions that are relating to your life, like your life situation. So when you look at it that way, what
Hmm.
we're talking now here is an hypothetical situation. Example,
Correct.
you're following a leader who's not following dharma. What is to be done? So, but if at all you have a situation like this,
Hmm.
then the answer will depend upon the the situation that you're in, the context you're in.
Hmm.
I suppose. I mean, I may not have the answer to that, but there, I think what Gurudev had mentioned would come into picture there. So it is not so much about uh, like, see.
Here
The,
we have to weigh a dharma
hmm,
or the commitment.
hmm,
Dharma or the commitment.
yeah,
Either of that, which will weigh more, then we'll have to.
correct. No, that's a valid question. Now you look at the political scenario. There's so many uh, politicians who've moved from Congress to BJP, for instance.
Mm.
But this is a tricky question, and I honestly don't know a straight answer to this, because then you have to, as a, like, for instance, if you look at the story where you when that in Datta Charitra, there is the story of the housewife, the wife basically, who takes care of a husband who's a womanizer. He is doing things which are adharmic, but she was bound by her vow, that commitment as a wife. So she continues to take care of him. Unlike in modern times, such a thing happens, then the next is they go to court and they get a divorce. Right? But at that point, in those days, once you're wedded till death do us apart. So it depends upon the situation, the context, I suppose. That's why it is there's no one answer fitting all.
Yeah.
It is relative to the situation.
Mm.
And even then, what Gurudev says with respect to relationships, husband and wife, and when when there is a conflict between the two, and it's come up to divorces on the cards, he says, have you done your 100% to maintain the relationship? Unless you have not done that, then is going in for that separation is not done. So have you put in your 100%? So that is with respect to husband and wife. But with respect to a war and a leader who is adharmic,
And again, as you said, it depends on Kalapatra and what? Mm, Kalapatra situation. What?
mm, one way of looking at it is to let the leader know that this is not right. Like educate and ignore. That is one thing that if that person knows for sure that yes, this is not right, go up, speak up, and then let it be. Then you've at least made your leader aware that this is not right. But then it may be from the karmic angle that this person is bound to work under such a leader. But you continue doing what your swakarma is. Yeah, it's a I don't know the exact no direct answer to that. That is why Krishna is telling Arjuna, only lucky ones get such an opportunity. See, in contrast, the ones fighting for the Kauravas are, of course, doing their swadharma, but it is not a dharmic yuddha for them.
Yes, here itself we are able to see. So lucky ones is what? They have done something good, the lucky
Yeah,
ones.
they've done
That's
something
why, yeah.
correct. The adrishta
That's why
phala for
they got
them.
the chance to be on this side.
Correct, correct. See this paragraph. A question may arise here. Does this mean that the Kshatriyas in Duryodhana's army were unlucky? No doubt they were also going to fight, but they had conflicts because they were supporting a usurper. Isn't it that the very fact that they had the conflict puts them onto maybe that was the karmic angle for them. They had no choice but to do that. The inner conflict was unavoidable for them. Therefore, they too were doing their swadharma, but at the same time, it was not totally dharmya because their leader was a usurper. I know this is the dharma. Uh, what is that thing called?
Dharma Sankat.
Dharma Sankata, correct. That's what that was the I was looking for that term. It's a Dharma Sankata. But probably it was from the karmic angle. It was, how can you say, how can you otherwise explain, right? So the easiest way to explain is karma.
Yes.
Uh-huh. See, that's why the entire army, including Bhishma and Drona, were not totally convinced that they were about to do what was according to their dharma. They were there primarily because they were obliged to Duryodhana. But that was the beauty, right? That was the beauty of sticking to their word. So they gave, their commitment was more to their word than to dharma. So there they stood by their word, that Bhishma Pratigna. These days it's not so. Once you take a word, you give a promise, it is again relative. It depends on the situation. When the context changes, that promise can is also kind of relaxed. But that is not the case that at that point. It
And
again,
maybe that's why, this situation came because they prioritized their commitment, maybe their kind of ego that yes, I'm committed, and the priority was not given to dharma, and that's why they ended up in yuddha, right? If they had sided with dharma, like if they had protected Draupadi from uh, that situation, Vastraharan, uh, they could have stopped it. So many stalwarts were there. The situation would have sorted then and there, right? This would not have escalated to the war situation
mhm.
because they were committed to their commitments and prioritize their commitments than the dharma. What was adharma was happening. They just kept watching just because they were committed. Yeah, just a thought.
Yeah, correct. You can argue that way. But then, on a lighter note, we would not have got the Bhagavad Gita if things did not turn out the way they did.
Mm,
Unless there was this war, Arjuna would not have had that Vishada, and then Krishna would not have. We would not have. So I suppose from the karmic angle,
mm,
all that is can be explained from the karmic angle,
yeah,
isn't it?
yes.
Mm. That is why, see, I think it's best for us to actually go through the Mahabharata to understand, because it's a story in a story, and how the context one context led to the other. So unless we read the whole Mahabharata as it was, you know,
Can we do that?
can we do that? Yes, that's there. One of my to-do list is bucket list is to read the Mahabharata and the Ramayana. Let's think about how to get that done. In fact, Nana had shared, he did painstakingly. He put up a translation of the Mahabharata into print. He actually did a PDF, and he shared this with all of us. I think when the very beginning, we can retrieve that and see how maybe once or twice a week at least, if we can meet up and then read it, take it up, will be a good idea. Prem was also mentioning that. Even Dr. Mara was mentioning we should do that. Let's see. Sankalpa is there. Hopefully, it will manifest soon. Because we have a lot to learn. It's not just lot to learn and to learn what to do, how to do, and learn also how not to do. When you look at Duryodhana, he's giving us a huge lesson as how not to be. See, Duryodhana's conflict was very simple. His simple but yet profound was, he says, um, um, I know what dharma is, but I'm not able to follow it. I know what adharma is, but I'm not able to let go of it. Janami dharmam nachame pravrittihi. Janami adharmam nachame nivrittihi. I'm not able to come out of adharma. And if you look at life, look at the whole creation, it is made of opposites. You have good and bad, evil and, um, good and evil. And if you look at Kauravas and the Pandavas stand for good, the Kauravas stand for that which is evil. And unless you have these pairs of opposites, the world, the creation does not continue. It is inbuilt. A simple example is when a tree is growing, growth is good, right? Growth is positive. But there are also inhibiting hormones that inhibit the growth. Otherwise, you will have trees that grow up to the sky. But every tree has a limit in its height. Same thing with human beings. We have a limit based on our genetic makeup. This is our height. Of course, environmentally, you can alter it a little bit, and then you can grow taller than your your average height that maybe genetically you're destined to be. But that's all. That also has a limit. So these pairs of opposites coexist in creation, and that is what keeps the whole creation in a constant flux, and it keeps it going. If there was only
Actually, it's
good,
only when it goes out of balance there is a
huh,
conflict.
correct. And our intention and what Vedanta is teaching us is to get out of this samsara. So samsara is riddled with opposites, pairs of opposites. Dvandva titaha. So our attempt should be to go beyond these pairs of opposites. Go beyond even dharma and adharma. See, all said and done, dharma, adharma, again in the relative standpoint. It is with respect to karma, with respect to samsara, respect to what is to be done as karma. But what Atma Jnana is taking us to a different level altogether. As you say, Atma is beyond any of this.
Common vibration.
Mm, isn't it? When you get into that special vibration, you see the difference. From the sattvic mode, everything there is unity. There's only one. Only when that special vibration starts off, then you see the difference and everything else as different. But from the Atma standpoint, there is no papa, no punya, no dharma, no adharma. Relative standpoint, yes. From the Vyavaharika Satta, you have. So that is why we have three things. Kartum shakyam, akartum shakyam, anyatha va kartum shakyam. So partly answer to your initial question as to what should be done if your leader is adharmic is you have the choice to do, not to do, and to do otherwise.
I think when there is a choice, that is where the free will is.
Right.
Mm.
And humans have the free will, no? Animals don't. That is the difference between humans and animals. We are given the free will. Duryodhana used his free will to not not keep up to his commitment of giving the land back to the kingdom back to the Pandavas. The Pandavas used their free will. They tried negotiating. They did so many things, attempts to coax at Duryodhana not to go to war, but it didn't. So then, therefore, the war was announced, was declared.
Duryodhana's thing, there is one, uh, I think it's a 61 or 62, some that it goes on to one to the other, Vinashyati.
Uh-huh.
That he fits into that
Mm.
exactly, right from the childhood. He's been given this desire, right? He has to be a king. He'll be the king. He'll be the king, like that. They put that desire into his. On top of that, his uncle, like Shaguni, he keeps on, oh, I'm going to put you in the throne. I'm going to. And then what happens when Pandava comes? It becomes like more like a jealousy, and he treats them like a shatru, like he doesn't treat them anytime as a brother, and no one told him either. So he had that, and then once he see them grow very well in their studies and get all this wealth themselves, he wants to get everything. So the more and more he gets it, he gets angry and he loses his mind, and finally that causes his destruction. Uh, other than that other thing, it's all arise from this strong desire that not fulfilled. So he gets very frustrated and that get angry and angry, and then in a, finally he gets destroyed. So that that reminded me that sloka very nicely.
Yeah, very nice, very nicely. Um,
And
that's
one more thing, I just thought, though they were called Pandu's children, they were actually not, right? If you are going to see that Pandu's children, because he was the elder and his son would get the throne, that was not the case. They were not actually Pandu's children. But if you
Hmm.
want to see Pandavas, because they were Kunti had from the
Yeah,
children
but
were born.
yeah, because of his he got that curse, right, from that Muni
Yeah.
before he died. So
So
with
from
his
that, on that
permission,
basis, they were not eligible for. I mean, if you see from that angle, they were
no,
not eligible to have the kingdom.
not like
But
that, not like that. Because if you see the whole Mahabharata, you'll be finally, no one had that kind of a type of a birth. Like if you see Veda Vyasa, right? He was born for the Bharat, that Muni Bharat Parasarar, and uh, that
Satyavati,
Satyavati, who is a
woman,
fisherman's wife, daughter,
daughter.
right? That like that, and then when the Satyavati married to Santanu, and Santanu dies. I mean, she has two boys, I think. Yeah, two of them, and one dies, and the other one, say, okay, you become a king, but he has to get married. So they get three of these Kasi daughters to marry him, and the two of them get married to this. His name is Vichitra Surya or something like
Vichitra
that.
Virya.
Virya, yeah.
Mm.
So then he also dies because he has a weak person. But Satyavati hides it because they didn't have any hires. So he begs actually Devavrata, who is Bhishma,
Mm.
but he made already Sabadam that he want to be a brahmachari for his life. So he wasn't going to help her. And then she runs to his own. She remembers that time Veda Vyasa. And then Veda Vyasa, okay, I have to respect my mother, so I'll help her. Then he goes. In the old days, Kshatriyas had a rule that they can't have a child, they can have a child through a Brahmin. So then they are considered as that Kshatriya, in that sense. So there because of Veda Vyasa only this Ambalika and what is her name? Another one Ambika.
Ambika.
Banika.
Uh,
Ambika, Amba, Ambika, Ambali.
Ambika, Ambika. Amba is the first one.
First.
She's
Yeah.
not there. Ambalika and Ambika. So that they get the children through the Dhritarashtra. She's very afraid when he saw Veda Vyasa in the room. So she closes her eyes. That's how that Dhritarashtra born with
Vision.
the poor vision. And then she is the second one, the Ambika. She is very afraid when he saw the Vedavyasa. Then that's when Pandu became alpais, like he doesn't have that long life. And then she begs again, please, you gave two children with this kind of problems. Please let me have another child. I won't ask you anymore. Then she sent him to the first the leg girl, right? She doesn't want to um, you know have it again, so she brings one her servant the girl. So
Vidura
she's
is
not
born.
afraid. Yeah, then she was born to
Vidura.
Vidura is born to this third one. So if you see that, it's like they are either with this kind of all three kings, with the Dhritarashtra, all of them, with that kind of story. And then Kunti also didn't bring it up until Pandu says, okay, I cannot have the child because he will die because of that curse. You can have with those the munis there, in the rishis there. Then she would tell that she got this what is that, not Durpada, Durvasa Muni taught him the mantra.
Mm.
Through that mantra, he's very happy. Pandu is very happy that oh, I can have the child. So he and along with Kunti only, they he only asked, oh, call Dharma, I want to have a child with the Dharma, all the Dharma Neri, like that. Uh, so they call each god based on his wishes also. And then he gives to Madri. She's kind of, after she had three children, she all worried about it. And so, okay, then Kundi says, I'll teach her that mantra, and then she gets the two other children. So like that, they were born. Since it was born, it was in the Kshatriya rule that they can have child through a Brahmin or somebody, Rishi, or to come in that higher. So first was born is the Yudhishthira. So that's why Yudhishthira has right for the throne, according to that story. But
Mm.
if you are saying, okay, they are not real children, they are, they in fact they all came with the Divya Drishti, right? Like they are come with that uh, with that kind of um, I couldn't say godliness, but they had a special birth like that, like Draupadi came from Agni. So that's how they those six remain after that big wash. Everybody else dies in that war. I mean, that's a story I learned from that. I also saw that Chopra, even though I didn't understand much with the subheading or the subtitles, it was good. Like
Yes.
really, we have to understand that. I mean, it brings up a lot of lessons, and it's not only these two fighting for each other, and a lot of like Durbada had vengeance against Bhishma, and also that Amba, she is reincarnated, and she still had that feeling that Bhishma destroyed her life, and she won't take his life. So she goes and does the tapas to Lord Shiva and get the boon that she will destroy him. Like that, everybody, even Drona, who's supposed to be Acharya, right? He he has this thing against Durupata because he treats him as a friend, but then when he goes begs for his food for his son, he mistreat him, so he gets mad at him that I'm going to make him pay for this through my disciple. So then he sends Arjuna or these kids to fight, and their brother lost. So once he lost his kingdom to Drona, that time he has this everybody has this, what do you call that, mm, sin for tit for tat, like that kind of feeling in their mind. And he gets these two children, like grown children, Drishtadyumna and Draupadi, to take care of Drona, the kill Drona. So that's how this whole story pans out. So in the end, if you see, everybody has one. It's supposed to be war between the Pandava and Kauravas, but in between, in small story, like you said, everybody had their own problems also. They were looking forward to this war to happen.
Yeah. Nice. So that's the reason also why we have to read the Mahabharata, for us to understand better the whole context. And like you rightly pointed out, lots of lessons to learn from the different stories. And
Yeah, and how the Pandavas are adhering to Dharma to the end.
mm,
So even Draupadi goes through many hurdles, being a woman, and that you see it. It's really nice, like what he said, to watch that show. Or I think the reading would be a long way to go. In the
mm,
men's, like, is the big version, right? I'm trying to read it Adi Parva, Sabha Parva, like in between. Really true, what we see in the drama. So that part I'll go and read up to see. Okay, this is the correct way they're showing.
yeah.
Like, yeah.
Maybe
Anyway,
what I can do is to
mm,
reshare that Mahabharata PDF.
yeah.
It was sent long back. Maybe we can all retrieve it from there. And maybe individually, till such time we are able to do it collectively, individually at least make a commitment, start in a small way and read a little bit every day. I know my sister Seema finished reading it because
Oh,
Nana
really?
scolded us.
Mm,
He said,
mm.
no, this is something that like doing the Bhagavad Gita is such an important aspect of our life. Reading the Mahabharata and Ramayana. Nana has done that at least twice or three times over.
Wow.
His retirement, I mean, it's awe inspiring.
It is inspiring. Like you learn a lot actually.
Yeah.
Like when you, even those dramas that we see in the on the TV. Um, the language is pretty good. In fact, like I saw it in Tamil also. That very good language, and how they portray Drona, and how why, like we have a notion, right? Like why Drona took this thumb of Ekalaiva, right? And then there is why he didn't teach Karna. As being an acharya, he shouldn't have that kind of thing, right? But then when he came to Guru Raja, that what is his name, Bhishma, asked Drona only to teach these kids, like only Kauravas and Pandavas, nobody else, like that. So he came, he wanted to have food for the family because he was very poor when he came to that part. And also, he asked that time, okay, along with these kids, I want to teach my son also Ashwatthama. So that's how he kept that. But we don't understand it, then we kind of feel Drona was like not very sticking to his acharya rule or something like that. So everybody, they follow their dharma, like when you talk about dharma, how they're sticking to that. And in the end, that Draupadi, when it happens to Draupadi, also everybody's hands are tied because of they think it's dharma. But yeah, in the name of dharma, when something like that is happening, you cannot close your eyes and sit there. You have to do something. That's a whole story, thing about it. When something like that happens, you can't stick to your old rules, like where Bhishma stick to his sapatham. Only I would protect my throne and protect the Hastinapura. That's not the thing that he's supposed to do. So anyway, when you read it or see it, it's really each and every character in that one has something to learn from, like ourselves.
Yeah. Nice. Today we reveled in Mahabharata thanks to this shloka. So tomorrow we'll go to. Thank you for bringing it up, Mrinal, and Dr. Mara, for sharing all that you have learned from the Mahabharata. So the next verse is Krishna then continued with the same argument. Atha chet atha chetvamimam dharmyam sangramam na karishyasi tatasvadharmam kirtincha hitva papamavapsyasi. We'll see this tomorrow because we've got about 6 minutes now. The thing is, but if you refuse to engage in this war, which is in keeping with dharma, then forfeiting your own duty and honor, you will incur sin. This is exactly opposite of what Arjuna has told Krishna in the first chapter, saying, if we fight this war, we're going to incur sin. Now, Krishna is actually giving a 180-degree different angle, saying, if you refuse to engage in this war, which is in keeping with dharma, forfeiting your own duty and honor, you will incur sin. Yeah, we'll do this. We'll do this tomorrow. Yeah. Actually, it is, I think, in keeping with this, if you're all okay, I will just read this. It'll take about 4 minutes and then we can have the meditation, right? Atha, but, chet, if, tvam, you, imam, this, Dharmyam, in keeping with dharma. Sangramam, war. Na karishyasi, will not do. Tataha, then. Swadharmam, your one's own duty. Cha, and kirtim, honor. Hitva, forfeiting. Papam, sin, avapsyasi, you will incur. Atha chet tvam imam dharmyam sangramam na karishyasi tataha swadharmam cha kirtim hitva papam avapsyasi. But if you refuse to engage in this war, which is in keeping with dharma, then forfeiting your own duty and honor, you will incur sin. Here Krishna told Arjuna that if he did not undertake this battle, which was in keeping with dharma, he would be destroying his own dharma, his duty. Destroying what is to be done by you simply means that you do not do it. Also, the name and fame, kirti, that Arjuna has thus far gained, would be destroyed. He would incur sin alone. Arjuna had said earlier that he would incur sin by fighting this battle. But Krishna was now telling him that by not fighting, he would incur sin in the sense that he would be guilty of a dereliction of duty. Not fighting itself would not incur sin, but running away from his duty was an action, a karma, that would incur sin. Therefore, Krishna said, "You will incur sin, Arjuna, papam avapsyasi, and you will lose your name also." Arjuna had gained fame previously because of his earlier contact with Lord Mahadeva, Lord Shiva, who appeared in the form of a hunter. Arjuna had hit a boar and was going to take it away when Lord Shiva appeared there and claimed that it was his. He incited Arjuna to fight with him. Although Arjuna realized that he was up against someone more than an ordinary hunter, still he was equal to Lord Shiva in the fight. Pleased with Arjuna, Lord Shiva blessed him with a weapon. Because Arjuna had encountered Lord Shiva and engaged him in battle, Arjuna had gained a great name, all of which would be lost. Therefore, Krishna says, Kirtim chahitva papam avapsyasi. You will lose your name as well as incur sin. Not performing an action is not a sin. Not performing an action that has to be done is considered sinful. However, it does not constitute sin. Not doing anything cannot attract a punitive response. How can it? Only action can produce a result. Inaction cannot. Inaction can only maintain the absence of some result. Absence in the sense that if you had done something, there would have been a result. If you do not do what is to be done, you do not directly produce any result, but there will be a result nevertheless. For example, if you do not bathe, shower, or launder your clothes, whether you see the result or not, others will see it. The result will be very clear. This is what is meant by drishtafala. If you do not tidy up your room, you will see the results in just 2 days. It will be a mess. This is the natural entropy that is a part of the creation. Not doing something then can attract drishtafala. Adrishtafala accrues only when you do it, rightly or wrongly. To say that if you do not perform an action, you incur sin is a very loose statement. The point is that when you do not do what is to be done, you will do something else instead, and that action may attract adrishta phala. Running away from the battlefield is an action, a retreating action on Arjuna's part, giving up his duty and doing something that was not his duty would definitely attract adrishta phala. That Arjuna could not avoid this papa then was another argument based on dharma put forward by Krishna. At the same time, Krishna said Arjuna would lose his name also. Arjuna may have replied, "How can I lose my name? People will praise me. They will say that Arjuna was so compassionate that he gave away the kingdom. and walked into the forest. He could have had the kingdom easily because he had the weapons to destroy the arrows of Karna and Drona. Still, he gave away the kingdom. What a compassionate man Arjuna is. But Krishna said that it would not happen that way at all. Yeah, I know we finished this, but then we'll maybe go through this one more time tomorrow and continue from there. Yeah, we'll close here today. So, the gist of this is not doing an action will incur drishtafala, but doing it rightly or wrongly will get you adrishtafala. So, for adrishtafala, action is required. For drishtafala, inaction also will bring in the drishtafala. Example is that bathing and not bathing. Yeah. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.
Meditation is accepting this moment, living every moment totally with depth. Let us keep our spine erect and body relaxed and eyes closed. Relax your shoulders. Keep a big smile on your face. You're sitting like the statue of Buddha, very serene and with a serene smile on your face. Relax your body. Let's take a deep breath in and breathe out. Become aware of your chest region, throat and chest region. If you notice some tension in the body, just let it be. Except those parts of the body where you feel a tension, the other parts are in comfort. Other parts are at peace. Become aware of that also. There are many good things about you and inside of you. Acknowledge them. They will never leave you. And the negative aspect you may see in you is never going to stay with you forever. They are all guests for some time. Let them be. Sit with the total acceptance of yourself the way you are at this very moment. Total acceptance of what is now here will lead us to deeper meditation. Let go of all the effort. Shanti. Let go of all your effort and be in this emptiness. And slowly and gradually become aware of body and surroundings. And you may gently open your eyes.